beautiful, amazing people. How are you this awesome sunny day? Or at least I hope that it's sunny for you as well. If you're new to my channel, it's nice to meet you. My name is Eleftheria and I'm a front-end developer, and currently I am doing some challenges from FreeCodeCamp. If you watched my previous video, we did the basic HTML and HTML5 exercises and we had a good result. So I think that today I will continue working with the basic CSS challenges. Here we have quite a few challenges, as you can see, but we are going to do everything. I hope that you're ready to code with me, but before we do that, I would like to remind you to please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would be amazing. Alright, and now we're gonna start coding. Get comfy in your chair, have some water or some coffee or whatever, and let's do that. First challenge is change the color of text. So the way that we are going through these challenges is that I'm reading here on the left part of the screen and we are coding in the middle, and then the result is on the right part of the screen. So now let's change the color of some of our text. We can do this by changing the style of the header to element. The property that is responsible for the color of an element text is the color style property. Here is how we would set the header to elements text color to blue. Header to style color blue, and then the text. Note that it is a good practice to end inline style declarations with this question mark. So change your h2 element style to its text color is red. So I'm going to the header 2 and I will add style, okay, and I will add, the color red. Okay, I think that this is what we were looking for, and yep, it is correct. Use CSS Selectors to style elements, and here we have with CSS there are hundreds of CSS properties that you can use to change the way an element looks on your page. When you entered h2 color red, you were styling that individual header to element with inline CSS, which stands for Cascading CSS. That's one way to specify the style of an element, but there is a better way to apply CSS. I would agree with that. At the top of your code, create a style block like this. Okay, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it up here. Cool. Inside that style block, you can create a CSS selector for all h2 elements. For example, if you wanted all h2 elements to be red, you would add a style rule like this. Okay, but let's see what we have. Delete your h2 element style attributes and instead create a CSS style block. Add the necessary CSS to turn all h2 elements into blue. Okay, so I will delete this and I will go inside the style and I'm going to write h2 and then a color, and did it say like, yep, blue. So let's do it like that and see if it's correct. Oh yep, it is. So we can continue with use a CSS class to style an element. So there is an example here. This is the class name, so blue text, and inside here we have our properties. Okay, let's see what we want. Inside your style element, change the h2 selector to red text and update the colors value from blue to red. Give your h2 element the class attribute with a value of red text. Alright, so I'm going to copy the class red text, and the first thing that we will do is to go here. I will change that to a class. The color will be red, and also I will go to the header and I'm going to add that class. Okay, and now we should be good to go. And yep, we are. Cool. Next challenge is style multiple elements with the CSS class. Classes allow you to use the same CSS styles on multiple HTML elements. You can see this by applying your red text class to the first P element. Okay, so classes allow you, but it doesn't say what we have to do. Do we have to change that on the B? We will see. So classes allow you to use the same CSS style in multiple you can use this by applying text red. Okay, so I guess that we can use the class red text and apply the same thing on the B. Let's try to do that. And let's click and run the test, and yep, that's what it wanted. Cool. Next exercise is change the font size of an element, and you can change the font size with the property font size, and here we also have an example. So font size 30 pixels. Inside the same style tag that contains your red text class, create an entry for P elements and set the font size to 16 pixels. Okay, so we'll go under the red text and I will type P, and then inside the brackets I'm going to have my font size with 16 pixels. Okay, after running the test we are correct and we can continue with the font family of an element. To set the font family, you can use the font family and then the name of your font family. In this case, the paragraphs will use the monospace font, so I'm going to copy it. I'm going again here on the paragraph and I'm going to add the font family and the monospace. And I think that again we are correct. I don't think that I'm missing anything. So we are good to go. Import a Google font. In addition to specifying common fonts that are found on most operating systems, we can also specify non-standard custom web fonts for use on our website. There are various sources for web fonts on the internet, but for this example, we will focus on the Google Fonts library. Google Fonts is a free library of web fonts that you can use in your CSS by referencing the font's URL. And here we will do an example with lobster, and we have a link with href and inside the URL with the lobster family, and then the style sheet and type text with CSS. It says now you can use the lobster font in your CSS by using the lobster as the family name in the following example: font family, family name, and the generic name. Now the generic name is optional and is a fallback font in case the other specified font is not available. This is covered in the next challenge. Okay, so family names are case sensitive and need to be wrapped in quotes if there is a space in the name, and this is actually something that I always forget if they should be in quotes or not. For example, you need quotes to use Open Sans font but not to use the lobster family font. Create a font family CSS rule that uses the lobster font and ensure that it will be applied to your H2 elements. So for the H2 I have the red text and I'm going here. I'm not sure if I want it here or maybe I can create something else. Yep, I will actually not use this class. I will use only the H2 and I will create the font family again. I will add, I guess, the lobster. So that should be correct. Import the lobster font. Didn't I do that? Maybe I should add that H2 after the P here. Okay, font family rule Come on, why not? Oh, now I know why. Because I haven't added that thing right here. Oh my god, I shouldn't have forgot about that. Yup. Now I think that this is correct. Oh my god, sorry I forgot about that. Anyway, let's keep going on. And the next thing is specify how fonts should decorate. So there are several default fonts that are available in all browsers. These generic font families include monospace, serif, and the sans serif. When one font isn't available, you can tell the browser to degrade to another font. For example, if you wanted an element to use the Helvetica font but degrade to the sans serif font when Helvetica wasn't available, you would specify it as follows. So the first font family will be Helvetica, whereas the second one would be sans serif. Generic font families names are not case sensitive. Also, they do not need quotes because they are CSS keywords. To begin with, apply the monospace font to the H2 element so that it now has two fonts, Lobster and monospace. Cool. I will go here and add a comma and the monospace. What else? In the last challenge, you imported the Lobster font using the link tag. Now comment out that import of the Lobster font using the HTML comments you learned before from the Google fonts so that it isn't available anymore. Notice how your H2 element degrades to the monospace font. Okay, so let's pay attention to the cut photo app now that I'm going to comment on the Lobster. And yes, it does change. Cool. Let's submit and go to the next challenge and let's see what this is. Alrighty, size your images. That sounds interesting. CSS has a property called width that controls an element's width. Just like with fonts, we'll use pixels to specify the image's width. For example, if we wanted to create a CSS class called larger image that gave HTML elements a width of 500 pixels, we would use larger image with width of 500 pixels. Alrighty. Create a class called smaller image. I'm going to copy that one. And use it to resize the image so that it only has 100 pixels wide. Okay, let's add that class here. Okay, and it says that this time the width should be 100 pixels. Alright, let's run the test to see if this is actually correct. No, your image element should have the class. Yep, because I didn't add the class anywhere. So I should have added that to the image. Okay. And now that should be correct. Let's click on run the test. And yep, that one is correct. Okay, let's keep going with add borders around your elements. CSS borders have properties like style, color, and width. For example, if you wanted to create a red 5-pixel border around an HTML element, we could use this class. Its name is thin red border with color, width, and style. Now we have to create a class called thick green border. I'm going to copy that, and this class should add a 10-pixel solid green border around an HTML element. Apply the class to your cut photo. Okay, let's create this beautiful class. I will copy these 3 properties and let's paste them inside our class. What we need is a 10-pixel. Okay, we also need the color of green, And I think that the style will continue being on solid, right? So this class would be 10 pixels solid green. Okay, and then I should add this to my image. So I'm going here and I will add that class. Let's see if this is correct. And yep, it is. Cool. Next thing is add a rounded corners with border radius. So we have border radius and we can use this. So it says you can specify border radius with pixels. Give your CAD photo a border radius of 10 pixels. Note that this challenge allows for multiple possible solutions. For example, you may add border radius to either the thick green border class or the smaller image class. I'm going to add it here. Border radius, oops. So border radius of 10 pixels. Cool. Let's run the test and we are good to go. Next challenge is make circular images with border radius. Give your CAD photo a border radius of 50%. So I'm going to change that, okay, to 50%. And now, as you can see, our CAD image is around, is like a circle. Okay, dokie, we can continue with background color to a div element. Cool. You can set an element's background color with a background color property. For example, if you wanted an element's background color to be green, you would put this within your style element. So green background with background color green. Create a class called silver background. Okay. With a background color of silver. Let's add that right here with the background color of silver. Okay, and assign this class to your div element. Okay, let's do it like that. The div, where is the div? Okay, here it is, our div class equals silver background. Yeah, cool. Okay guys, I don't know if you can hear an external noise right now, but there is a car and it has an alarm. This alarm is on, but I hope that it will shut down quite soon. Anyway, let's keep going because I don't want to interrupt this video. Set the ID of an element. In addition to classes, each HTML element can also have an ID attribute. There are several benefits to using ID attributes. You can use an ID to style a single element, and later you can learn that you can use them to select and modify specific elements with JavaScript. ID attributes should be unique. Browsers want to enforce this, but it is widely agreed upon best practice. So please don't give more than one element the same ID attribute. Okay, we won't do that. Here is an example of how you give your H2 element the ID of CAD Photo App. H2 ID equals CAD Photo App. Cool. Now it says give your form element the ID of CAD form. I'm going to copy that thing and I'm going to the form. Let's find the form. Okay, here it is, and I will add the ID of CAD photo form. Cool. Let's run the tests. Okay, yep, we are correct and we are ready to continue. Use an ID attribute to style an element. One cool thing about ID attribute is that, like classes, you can style them using CSS. However, an ID is not reusable and should only be applied to one element. An ID also has a higher specificity importance than a class, so if both are applied to the same element and have conflicting styles, the styles of the ID will be applied. And we also have an example here. So it says cut photo element with background color green, but notice this time that we have the hash, whereas before in the classes we had the dot. Note that inside your style element you can always reference classes by putting a dot in front of their names. You always reference IDs by putting a hash in front of their names. By giving your form, which now has the ID attribute, a cut photo form, a green background. So let's do that. I am going to try giving your form. We have that ID and we need the cut form. Okay, I'm going to copy this thing. Let's go here. I will add a background color of green, so I'm going to copy background color and green. Alrighty, and we can see that everything is green now. Cool, let's keep going. Adjust the padding of an element. Okay, 3 important properties control the space that supports each HTML element, and these are padding, margin, and border. An element's padding controls the amount of space between the element's content and its border. Okay, here we can see that the blue box and the red box are nested within the yellow box. Note that the red box are nested with the yellow box, and note that also the red box has more padding than the blue one. Okay, when you increase the blue box's padding, it will increase the distance, which is the padding, between the text and the border around it. So change the padding of your blue box to match that of your red box. Cool. Let's go to change the padding of the blue box to match the red box. So from 10, I'm going to do it like 20, and we are correct. Cool. Let's keep going on with adjust the margin of an element, and this time we have to change the margin of the blue box to match that of the red box. So again, I'm going to blue box, and I'm going to change the margin from 10 to 20. Okay, let's see the changes, and again everything is correct, so we can continue with add a negative margin to an element. An element's margin controls the amount of space between an element's border and surrounding elements. If you set an element's margin to a negative value, the element will grow larger. Try to set the margin to a negative value like the one for the red box. Okay. Change the margin of the blue box to -15. So it fills the entire horizontal width of the yellow box around it. Okay, it does that, so I think that we are correct, and yep, we are. Cool. Let's continue with the next challenge that says add different padding to each side of an element. So we have the padding and we have the margin, but we can divide that to padding top, left, bottom, and right. For this challenge, we have to give the blue box a padding of 40 pixels on its top and left side, but only 20 pixels on the bottom and right side. Okay, so I will have the padding here, and I will do it like 40 pixels, 20 pixels to 20 pixels and 40 pixels. Let me type that correctly. Okay, so now we have 40 pixels top and 40 pixels right, but we have 20 pixels on right and 20 pixels on bottom. So we have like top, then we have right, then we have bottom, and then we have left. Okay, I think that this will do the trick, and yep, it does. We are correct. Now we have to do the same thing with margin, and again it says 40 on top and left, but 20 on bottom and right. There is also like this way of doing it, like it will be separate, top, right, bottom and left, but I think that I prefer like the fast way, which is like this margin, and again it's like it was in padding. So margin and padding uses the same rule here. Okay, I think that we are okay. Everything is like 14, then 20, 20 and 40 pixels. Cool. Use clockwise notation to specify the padding of an element. So actually in this challenge is what we were supposed to do, and like it says use clockwise notation to keep the blue box class of padding of 40 pixels on its top and left side, but only 20 pixels on its bottom and right sides. So here we have the example that I did before. So I'm going to do this a little bit faster. I'm going to copy that and maybe paste it below. So the number should be 40 here, but 20 here. Okay, so 20 should be bottom and right, top. Okay, I think that these are the numbers. And yep, they are correct. Okay, let's see the next one, and it's the same thing, but it's for the margin. So I'm going to copy this line right here, and let's read what we have to do. So use clockwise notation to give the element with blue box class a margin of 40 pixels on the top and left side, whereas only 20 on the other two sides. So again, I will make this as 40, and that should be 20, and probably we are good to go. Let's see the results, and yep, I think that we are correct, so let's keep moving. The next challenge is use attribute selectors to style elements. Okay. You have been giving ID or class attributes to elements that you wish to specifically style. These are known as ID and class selectors. There are other CSS selectors you can use to select custom groups of elements to style. Let's bring out Cut Photo up again to practice using CSS selectors. For this challenge, you will use the attribute equals value attribute selector to style the checkboxes in Cut Photo up. The selector matches and styles elements with a specific attribute value. For example, the below code changes the margins of all elements with the attribute type and the corresponding value of a radio. Okay, what we have to do is, using the type attribute of selector, try to give the checkboxes in Cut Photo up a top margin of 10 pixels and a bottom margin of 15 pixels. In order to do so, I'm going to copy this code and I'm going here, and instead of radio, I'm going to have checkboxes. I don't need this to be in plural, so it has to be like checkbox. And now we will use the margin, and the margin should be like 10, 0, and then again like 15 and 0 pixels. Okay, I think that we are good. Let's run those tests. And yep, everything is good and we can continue. Great. So next challenge is understand absolute versus relative units. Okay, I think that this is important. So the last several challenges all set an elements, margins or paddings with pixels. Pixels are a type of length unit, which is what tells the browser how to size or space an item. In addition to pixel, CSS has a number of different length unit options that you can use. The two main types of length units are absolute and relative. So remember that, absolute and relative. Absolute units try to physical units of length. For example, in and mm refer to inches and millimeters respectively. Absolute length units approximate the actual measurements of a screen, but there are some differences depending on a screen's resolution. Relative units such as em and rem are relative to another length value. For example, em is based on the size of an element's font. If you use it to set the font size property itself, it's relative to the parent's font size. Okay, I think that we are about to do the challenge, we will understand everything a little bit better. So let's do what we have to do. It says add a padding property to the element with the class red box. So red box is here, and I'm going to add a padding of 1.5 em. Okay, and let's run the test. I think that it will be fine, as I can see the result on the right part of the screen. Cool. Okay, now the environment has changed a little bit. We don't have anything here, so I guess we will have to check something new. Style the HTML body element. Now let's start fresh. Okay, I can see that. And talk about CSS Inheritance. Every HTML page has a body element. We can prove that the body element exists here by giving it a background color of black. Okay, so we can do this by adding the following style, and I guess that this is what we have to do, but it doesn't write it here very clear, so I'm just going to copy and paste the style with a background color of black, and let's see the result of this. Yep, it is black. Alrighty, cool. The next challenge says, remember, you can style your body element just like any other HTML element, and first create an h1 element with the text hello world. Okay, so I'm going here and I will create that h1 with the text hello world. Okay, then let's give all elements on your page the color of green. So we'll go here and it says color green. Okay, next thing is, okay, do your body elements, the declaration. Finally, give your body element the font family of monospace by adding the font family monospace on the body. So I'm going to quickly copy that thing right here and let's paste it under the color green and see if we are missing something, and no, we are not. Cool. So now we have one style over another. That sounds interesting. Sometimes your HTML elements will receive multiple styles. For example, your h1 element can't be both green and pink at the same time. Let's see what happens when you create a class that makes text pink, then apply it to an element. Will our class override the body element's color green? Let's check that out. So what we have to do is to create a CSS class called pink text. Okay, let's start with that one. So pink text, and then give your h1 element the class of pink text. Okay, so let's go here and add the class. Okay, of course we have to add the color. And after that, we can see that it is pink, so it overrides the body class. Cool. Our pink text class overrode our body's element. Okay, so we just proved that our classes will override the body element's CSS. The next logical question is, what can we do to override our pink text class, right? Create an additional CSS class called blue text. Okay, let's start from this. Okay, and what else? Apply the blue text class to your h1 element in addition to your pink text class, and let's see which one wins. So we will have the blue text with the color blue, and then I'm going to add this class over here, and let's see, yes, we have the blue color, which means that the second class overrides the first class. Declarations by styling ID attribute. Cool. We just proved that browsers read CSS from top to bottom. That means that in the event of a conflict, the browser will use whichever CSS declaration comes first. But we are not done yet. There are other ways that you can override CSS. Do you remember ID attributes? Okay, let's hope we do. Let's override your pink text and blue text classes and make an h1 element orange by giving the h1 element an ID and then styling that ID. Okay, so give your h1 element the ID attribute of orange text. Okay, h1, and here I'm going to have, does it has to be like a hashtag? Okay, so I'm going to do this with style. No, with style. Just an ID, I think it's enough for this challenge. So orange text, and let's go to create that orange text. Okay, with the hash orange text, and here we will have like the color of orange. Okay, I'm not sure if we have to do anything else, but no, the color is orange, so I mean we are okay. Cool, now we have override class declarations with inline styles. We've proven that ID declarations override class declarations regardless of where they are declared in your style element CSS. Now, there are other ways that you can override CSS, and the question is, do you remember inline styles? Use an inline style to try to make our h1 element white. Remember, inline styles look something like this, style color green. Leave the blue text and the pink text classes on your h1 element. Okay, so we have to do our h1 to be in white. And in order to do so, I'm going to use style, and then I'm going to have my color. Okay, first I need to learn how to type, and then I can fix my color. Okay, color of... Okay, now my PC is actually quite slow because I do type, but maybe you cannot see that. Cool, everything is correct, and we can continue, and let's forget about my PC being slow. Override all other styles by using important. Yeah, we just proved that inline styles will override all the CSS declarations in your style element, but wait, there is one last way to override CSS. This is the most powerful method of all. But before we do it, let's talk about why you would ever want to override CSS. In many situations, you will use CSS libraries. This may accidentally override your own CSS. So when you absolutely need to be sure that an element has specific CSS, you can use the important. Cool, I'm going to copy that because I'm pretty sure you're going to need it. Let's go all the way back to our pink text class declaration. Remember that our pink text class was overwritten by subsequent class declarations, ID declarations, and inline styles. Let's add the keyword important to your pink text elements color declaration to make it 100% sure that your header 1 element will be pink. Okay, I like that. Let's hit run the test and see the results, and our text is pink, which means that we can continue working with. The things are changing a little bit here once again, and I think that from now on we will be talking a little bit about Hex Colors. It says use Hex Code for specific colors. Did you know there are other ways to represent colors in CSS? One of these ways is called hexadecimal code, or Hex Code for short. We usually use decimals or base 10 numbers, which use the symbols from 0 to 9 for each digit. Hexadecimals, or hex, are based on 16 numbers. Yeah, we got that. This means it uses 16 distinct symbols like decimals. The symbols 0 through 9 represent the values 0 to 9, and then of course like we have A, B, C, D, E, F, which represents the values from 10 to 15. Altogether, 0 to F can represent a digital in hexadecimal, giving us 16 total possible values. How cool is that? You can find more, so it gives us a link here. I'm not going to visit it right now, but if you want, of course, you are free to do so. In CSS, we can use 6 hexadecimal digits to represent the colors, 2H for red, green, and blue components. For example, 0000 is black and is also the lowest possible value. You can find more about the RGB color system here. Again, this is a link that I'm not going to click on, but feel free to do so. In this example, we have the color with 0000 and 00. Replace the word black in our body element's background color with a hex code representation of zeros. Okay, I'm going to use the hash and then of course the zeros, and I can see the black color, which means that we are good to go. Cool. Next challenge is use Hex Code to mix colors. To review, Hex Colors codes use 6 hexadecimal digits to represent colors, 2H for red, green, and blue components. From these 3 pure colors, red, green, and blue, we can vary the amount of each to create over 16 million other colors. I mean, this is pretty amazing. For example, orange is pure red mixed with some green and no blue. In Hex Code, this translates to being FFA500. The digit 0 is the lowest number in Hex Code and represents a complete absence of color. The digit F is the highest number in Hex Code and represents the maximum possible brightness. Replace the color words in our style environments with the correct hex codes. Okay, let's see what we have. For red, I can use that one. Okay, then for orange, I can use that one. Okay, we also need the hash. For green, I can have that thing right here. Okay, I will need to also add the hash here. And last but not least, we have the Dodger blue text. Okay, Let's do it like that, and now we have all the colors that we need. Cool. Let's keep moving on with use abbreviated hex code. This is a difficult word. Many people feel overwhelmed by the possibilities of more than 16 million colors, and it's difficult to remember hex code. Fortunately, you can shorten it. For example, red's hex code FF0000 can be shortened to F0 and 0, so 3 digits instead of 6. This shortened form gives 1 digit for red, 1 digit for green, and the last 1 digit for blue. This reduces the total number of possible colors to around 4,000, but browsers will interpret this as FF0000 and F00 as exactly the same color, so we can use, of course, the 3 digits instead of 6. Go ahead, try using the abbreviative hex codes to color the correct elements. Okay, let's see what we have here. For fuchsia, we will only use like F. Okay, let's type that. We will use F0 and F. For red, we will use like F0 and 0. Then for cayenne, we will use like I need only 1 0, and the other two will be F and F. And last but not least, we have our green, which will be 0 F and 0. And yep, if we are correct, then yeah, we're going to see a cool result and I can see everything. So I guess that I can click on run the test and submit and go to the next challenge. Okay, let's see what else we have, and the first thing that I see is bright red color. Cool. Another way you can represent colors in CSS is by using the RGB values. The RGB value for black looks something like this: RGB 0, 0, and 0. The RGB value for white colors look something like this: 25, 5, 255, 255. So instead of using 6 hexadecimal digits like you do with hex code, with RGB you specify the brightness of each color with a number between 0 and 255. If you do the math, the 2 digits for one color equal 16 times 60, so which gives us 2.256 total values. So RGB with starts counting from 0 has the exact same number of possible values as hex code. This is pretty awesome in my opinion. So here is an example of how you'd change the body background to orange using its RGB code. Background color RGB 255, 1.65 and 0. So let's replace the hex code in our body elements background color with the RGB value for black. To do so, I'm going to copy that thing right here, and I'm going to the background color, and from hex we are turning this into RGB. Cool. Okay, I think that the colors aren't very difficult, but you have to get used to them. The next challenge is use RGB to mix colors and replace the hex codes in our style elements with their correct RGB values. So I'm going to copy the first one, which is for the blue, and I'm going to paste it right here. The next one is about red. So again, the first value is going to be 255, but the other two values will be 20. Now about the orchid here, the color will change a little bit and it will be like 218, 112 and 214. Of course you cannot like remember those values, and there are cool tools out there that they can change your values from hex to RGB and all the beautiful things like that. So just Google about converters to hex to RGB. Anyway, let's keep moving. Oh, this thing looks beautiful. Alright, let's work on that. It says use CSS variables to change several elements at once. CSS variables are a powerful way to change many CSS styles properties at once by changing only one value. Follow the instructions below to see how changing just 3 values can change the styling of many elements. So in the penguin class, which is the first one as far as I can see, it's a change the black value to gray. So the black value, I should change that to gray. Let's do that. And then it says the gray value to white. Okay. So I'm going to change that to white, and then the yellow one to orange. Cool. Yep, that was pretty easy. So I think that this is a way to change the style or the colors like quite quickly. Okay, moving on, the next challenge says create a custom CSS variable, and to create a CSS variable you just need to give it a name with 2 dashes in front of it and assign it a value like this. Okay, penguin, skin, and then the color, and of course before that we have the 2 dashes. This will create a variable named penguin skin and assign it the value of gray. Now you can use that variable elsewhere in your CSS to change the value of other elements to gray. And the penguin class, okay, create a variable named penguin skin. I'm going to copy that and give it a value of gray. Okay. So let's go up here and paste that, and I will also add the color of gray. Okay, I think that this is the only one that we had to do, and it is correct. Cool. Okay, next thing is use a custom CSS variable, and again it says after you create your variable you can assign its value to other CSS properties by referencing the name you gave it. Okay, that's pretty awesome actually. So background var penguin skin. This will change the background of whatever element you are targeting to gray, because that is the value of the penguin skin variable. Note that styles will not be applied unless the variable's names are an exact match. We have to apply the penguin skin variable to the background property of the penguin top, penguin bottom, right hand, and left class. So the first thing that says is penguin top. So I'm going to change the black color with the penguin skin, but I have to type that thing correctly. Maybe it means that I should do that like this. So penguin skin should be gray, and I think that this is what we are supposed to do. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. And maybe here, and let's also add it here. I think that were the 4 places that I had to change it. Yep, left hand was the last one, so that should be correct. Alrighty, and it is correct. Attach a fallback value to CSS variable. So note this fallback is not used to increase browsers' compatibility, and it will not work on iBrowsers. Rather, it is used so that browser has a color to display if it cannot find your variable. Here is how to do that. var penguin skin and black. This will set background to black if your variable wasn't set. Note that this can be useful for debugging. It looks there is a problem with the variables supplied to the penguin top, okay, and penguin bottom classes. So rather than fix the type, add a fallback value of black to the background property of the penguin top and penguin bottom. So I guess that this means that I can add this. It should be the class, yeah, it should be on black. Okay, so I will do that in penguin top, and then I will also do that in the penguin bottom. Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything, because I think that we are okay with that. And let's run the tests. We are good to go. So yep. The next challenge says improve compatibility with browser fallbacks. Cool. So when working with CSS, you will likely run into browser compatibility issues at some point. This is why it's important to provide browser fallbacks to avoid potential problems. When your browser parses the CSS of a web page, it ignores any properties that it doesn't recognize or support. For example, if you use a CSS variable to assign a background color on a site, Internet Explorer will ignore the background color because it does not support CSS variables. In that case, the browser will use whatever value it has for that property. If it can't find any other value set for that property, it will revert to the default value, which is typically not ideal. It looks like a variable is being used to set the background color of a red box. Now let's improve our browser compatibility by adding another background declaration right before the existing declaration and set its value to red. So I'm going to use the background from here, and I'm going to set it to red, and let's see what's going on. Okay. Now have a background of red. I guess that we will change that in a bit. So let's see the cascading CSS variables. When you create a variable, it becomes available for you to use it inside the element in which you created. It also becomes available within any element nested within it. This effect is known as cascading, and this is why we have CSS. Now, because of cascading, CSS variables are often defined in the root element, so here in the root element. By creating your variables in root, they will be available through the whole web page, okay? Define a variable named penguin belly, okay, in the root, okay, selector, okay, and give it the value of pink. Okay, pink. You can then see how the value will cascade down to change the value to pink anywhere that variable is used. Okay, we are correct here, so let's keep working with the that penguin thing. And now it says change a variable for a specific area. Again, when you create your variable in root, they will set the value of that variable for the whole page. You can then override these variables by setting them again within specific elements. So change the value of penguin belly, which is here, to white in the penguin class. Oh, okay, so should I only change that from here, or maybe I can only do it from here? So let's go here. Oh, come on. Oh, my laptop again, it's like very, very slowly. Okay, change the value of penguin belly in the penguin class, and we will do it like that. I'm not sure if this is actually correct. No, the penguin class should reassign the penguin belly variable to white, and I typed pink, but have I typed everything else correctly? I'm not sure. Let's just hit the running test, and yeah, that was easier than I thought it would be. Now I see some changes. Okay, I see some animation here. Use a media query to change a variable. CSS variables can simplify the way you use media queries. For instance, when your screen is smaller or larger than your media query breakpoint, you can change the value of a variable and it will apply its style wherever it is used. In the root selector of the media query, change it so das penguin size is redefined and given a value of 20 pixel. Also redefine the penguin skin and give it a value of black. Then resize the preview to see the changes. Cool. The first thing that we will change is this thing up here from 300 to 2, and also, oh no, I shouldn't do it actually like that. Maybe I can take like these 2 lines and paste them here, and I will change now that to 2 pixels, 200 pixels, and also this to black. Okay, to see the changes, it says that we should play a little bit with resizing our area. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to drag in and out. Oh, and now I can see the change from black to gray. And let's go to the next challenge. Oh, and we actually did it. That was the last challenge. Oh, I'm so happy that we did everything. And I hope that you also like both the challenges and this video. I hope that you find it quite informative. And yeah, if you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I will do my best to answer it. Before you exit from this video, please also don't forget to like it, share with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alright, again, thank you very much for watching. I wish you an amazing day and don't forget to code a little bit. Alright, see you really soon. Stay tuned because the next thing that we are going to do is these upcoming challenges.